Hey guys, this is an old topic, seems like to me anyways, but let's talk about COVID. The Japanese or whatever just released that they did a bunch of tests and the newest variant was definitely could not have occurred in nature. That's the way they worded it. So they're just, it's a nice way of saying that it's made in a lab. So we all knew this. Obviously, we've known this for the most part. We've known this right away, right? Anybody who watches this channel, I would think. And, well, and the haters, I'm sure you guys still think it's great. But the argument always leads to, well, do you think it was China or America or fucking Brazil or maybe it was Pakistan, whatever. I don't think it was Pakistan, that's for sure. But the elite all go and meet up at Davos every year publicly and talk about depopulating the earth over and over and over and over again. And you guys are all like, no, we need to depopulate the earth. Or not you guys, but them. And who are you going to start with, dummy? Right? Obviously, you, us, right? They're not going to start with them. The leadership or whatever, these Davos people, and they all go. Like, all of them. Even Donald Trump has gone. I don't believe he still goes, obviously, but I believe he went sometime in the early 90s or during whatever, 20 years ago, sometime. And he hangs out in them circles. So, whatever. And Xi Jinping goes, and Kim Jong-il goes, and Putin goes, and they all go. The oligarchs and all those super rich oil people and shit, they all go. And then people like Crowder or whatever are like, well, I wonder if it's A or B or whatever, right? They're all the same alphabet. It doesn't matter which one it is. CIA, FBI, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, right? None of it is real. Well, not exactly, but, and then they force people, right? So they're trying to cut the population down for whatever reasons. And then they need us to be in all this fear and everything. So they have all these fucking wars going on. And they need everybody to live that way, not just the first world nations. They want all the other nations too, right? So Venezuela and, Iran, Iraq, and, Siberia and all these places. I said that wrong. Siberia. Palestine, Israel. They've been taking it all over. Switzerland. And they just, Canada, USA. They force these central banks in there. And they take away the gold-backed dollar or the oil-backed dollar, and they have credit, debt. And then they put in their green policies. And then you have hunger, starvation, water shortages. Use your brains, people. They're so not on your side. And they're all good at talking about being on your side. Doesn't matter which side it is. Now, there has to be a side that they both have to say things that appeal, but there has to be one side that doesn't move so much. The conservatives, the way I always see it is the liberals take rights and freedoms and destroy, and then the conservatives come in and they piece everything out and just kind of settle the waters at that new low, right? So if the bar was here, the liberals get voted in, they bring the bar down to here, and everybody's pissed off, so then they get the conservatives in and they get everybody used to it. And then the liberals come back in and they drop the bar again, and then the conservatives come back in and they never raise the bar back up. They just wait for everybody to get comfortable with this new low. And then they lose. Then they put in shitty candidates or whatever it is. The liberals come back in, drop the bar again. Conservatives just follow them down. They yipe about it. And they just follow them down. So if they started up here, liberals go down. That's it. There's no... It's not real. None of it. There's no... And those passionate speeches and all that stuff, that shit's all rehearsed. If it wasn't, you'd see all these politicians going on like Louder with Crowder, being live, talking to you. But you don't see that. I've seen a few, but very, very, very few. Excuse me. And because it's all an act. They're just actors. Even your precious Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it surprises me how well I know who that is and how little like people on the street know who he is. Most people, like my family, was like, who's that, when I bring him up, because I'm bringing him up like, oh well, you're big wig Neil deGrasse Tyson, and they were all like, who's that? Anyhow, he was an actor. He's a shitty actor. Bill Nye, another shitty actor. You don't think they can find a few sleazeballs that'll do anything for money? So anyhow, I don't know about Crowder. If he's just that brainwashed and lost, or if he's just controlled opposition again. If he's just an actor too. Same with like Russell Brand. See, the good thing about having like a Russell Brand going is they've always got him reporting the worst to you. and there's never a solution. Not a real one, right? And how could there be? Right? How could you ever? What are you going to do? Anyhow, what you're going to do is keep talking about all the wrong things, focusing on all the wrong things, never watching the upper level, and even the upper level of Davos. Do you think for a second that we're seeing the real power of the world go to those meetings and talk for itself? You're a fool. George Soros, Bill Gates. No, they're just the top ranked evil actors. That's it. Everything they have is fake and could be taken like that by the people above them. They could just be killed by the people above them. If they become unuseful or whatever, they're gone. And you might hear some yipping from their families at first, but poof, that'll be silenced. Poof, they're gone. Easy. People have heart attacks every day, especially stressed out, business, whatever, right? Even Soros's son that's being introduced and stuff now. Who knows if it's even his real son or not? No idea. But I think it is being groomed up, and he's been groomed his whole life to be an evil schmuck. But real power doesn't show itself. Not talked about on the news. Not talked about. There's families that are just were talked about briefly. Everybody kind of talks about them here, there, whatever, but mostly they're mentioned as historical power. Oh, they used to have power. They used to be worth. They used to. Come on. You don't let that kind of power go. Not what was bred into them and taught to that particular family. So George probably was raised by them, or groomed up from a child, right? Picked and groomed up to be their front man. And then they can sit in the back, Wizard of Oz, pull the strings, right? So anyway, none of it is real, and we hold the power over it. If you just stop believing in it, all of it, right? And I know that war, okay, that's horrible. What's going on there, right? Like that's horrible. But it's been horrible for the other side for years, like 80 years or more, right? So it's not like one side's better than the other. We picked a side and backed it more. We tell ourselves they're better, but look around the world. Look at especially if you're a Christian, Jesus told you, look at the tree's fruit to know if it's good. Don't look at the tree or whatever, right? So we need to look at what the actions and what the outcomes are and what's going on in the world with this leadership, because Israel's a big part of the actual hidden leadership of the world, right? They control so much. And you could say, oh, but their people are innocent. Their people keep voting. They keep letting their government do this shit. Right? They're not like out protesting in the streets saying, you know, you guys got to slow the fuck down and stop taking over lands that aren't ours and shit. Just protect our borders. Don't worry about taking other people's. And don't go spreading your green fucking destructive policies all over the world. And you don't need to have a bank in every country and have full control over the entire world's money supply. None of your business. Just worry about your home. Keep your own affairs in order. But none of them are saying that. None of them are protesting. Neither are any of us. Like, this is my form of protest here. And I've gone to some protests during COVID and shit. But I mean, really, as conservatives, we're not doing anything. We're not out protesting the sending of money to Israel or whatever. We're not out protesting the sending of no money to Hawaii, no money to British Columbia, and that they're just letting all these places burn and the fires look identical to each other, and it's all leading toward this plan of the 15-minute cities and clearing land and getting things ready for it. Where and it's always right where they've planned and openly spoke about, oh, we're going to build a 15-minute city in this area and blah blah blah, this is going to happen, and then, oh look, there was a fire there. Well, look at that, isn't that convenient? Perfect. Let's get our city built. Those people will be so happy. So I don't know about the COVID exactly. It had so many purposes, served so many purposes, and we let it. I couldn't believe it when it was happening. I couldn't fathom anybody around me's thought process. Like, it's like they didn't even have one. There was no forethought, like no 5 moves ahead chess thing, none of that. They just looked at right now and fear and made all their decisions on that. Didn't look at the past. Didn't look at the people talking to them. None of that stuff. Didn't look at like their record as, you know, as in their jobs or any of that stuff. They just and didn't look at other people and what they were saying and or in the same fields, you know, and watching them get silenced and shut down and all this stuff. And you just zombied into it. And then you keep talking about the zombie apocalypse is going to happen, blah, 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 because you watch all that shit on TV. You're the zombie. You already did it. You're already the zombie. You blindly just vaccines into the fucking doctors and came out genetically altered. That's the fucking very definition of a zombie. I hate saying that because I think of all my family members who are fucking zombies, and I'm saying this to, and I know it breaks their hearts because they didn't fucking listen when I was saying it to them in the first place. And that's another thing. Why did you guys, well, how could you ever, like, you know how untrustworthy people are, just in general, right? People will lie to you. You've lied to people. Shit like this. People that you love and that love you and try their best, but shit happens, life, whatever. And then you blindly trust these fucking strangers that chose a career that they have to fight for power their entire lives. What kind of a personality is it that even gets into that? Right? Until it gets to this situation, it's not noble people. Usually, it's scumbags. Now, obviously, there's some noble people who are leaders and want to, but the pickings are real slim in our society, and there's hundreds of them in our political ladder, and the ones that are good, you watch them get buried. You know, their careers don't go anywhere. They don't get any backing and no money going into their fucking anything. They're not getting appointed by any of these other douchebags, right? They're not going to the Davos things, and they're just not part of the club. So they might get some votes, say the right things, usually, but usually, unless they're a Donald Trump with money, they're never getting to the top. I don't understand how you put your trust into a system like that, and especially after you've caught it lying to you over and over and over and over and over again. Like, how much abuse do you expect yourself to have to take, or whatever? Like, if you're in a relationship with somebody, your friend, do you let them abuse you like that over and over and over and over and over and keep going back? That's so unhealthy for you. You gotta change your life. It's disgusting. Positivity is so it makes you grow like a flower. And I always say that people are like Care Bears, and we can express our happiness and our love and it actually spreads to the other people around us. You know, and you see those videos where see how far a smile travels or whatever. McDonald's does their commercials. And look how far these smiles go, you know? Well, duh. I say that shit to people all the time. Oh, look, you're a Care Bear, when they do something cool like that, right? Because it happens constantly. So, and that's how this your subconscious can actually do the same thing, right? Like you can, your thoughts and your words and your the way you act will attract and bring in a new life, a new existence to you if you just change your reactions or whatever. Anyways, that's nothing to do with COVID. But anyhow, the Crowder thing bugged me this morning because he's always so blind. You know, they lead these stories up so far, and then he gets right to the shit, you screwed it all up. Or then he'll be like, oh, you know, la 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 la, and then let's go to our expert Bible guides, Gerald, and then I dropped the ball, Gerald, fumbled it. Go back to playing football. Stick to sports. Though Gerald does have a lot of knowledge about the Bible, don't get me wrong, he knows it better than me. But being able to quote the Bible doesn't impress me. It's people that live the Bible that impress me. That's a quote from a meme, but it's true, right? The Jews that Jesus was fighting with in the temple knew the Torah better than anybody, knew it back and forth, but they weren't living it, right? So, and denied parts of it, same as Gerald does. Anyway, that's why I like Russell Brand, because he'll lead you up to that and then just kind of say, well, you know, he won't start imposing these brainwash techniques on you at the end and throughout. The only brainwashing that he does is his stories are negative over and over and over. But he does try to say that positive thought leads to a positive future, and we need to focus on something more positive. It's just that all of his stories are negative. So, it's hard to put that positive twist on to stories like his. I get it. And things he doesn't understand, he'll openly be, he says, I'm a Christian and this and that, but he doesn't go poking at flat earthers or anything because he doesn't know it. So he doesn't understand it, so he's not going to poke at it. Whereas, Stephen would. Russell wouldn't say that there isn't false Jews mentioned in the Bible. He would say there's false Jews mentioned in the Bible as well. And Stephen says, oh, well, I'm only going to start the history of Israel at 1945. The history of Israel goes way before 1945, right? And that's since 1945 on. That's when Edom took over Israel fully on the books. So that's the only part that he wants to talk about is his leaders, Edom, right? And I do think that he's controlled opposition. And the way he handles his people and his crew and stuff like that, I just, sometimes I don't trust that man. And he's a Canadian. Ugh, it's fucking Canadians. I'm a Canadian too. I'm just joking. But he's from Quebec. So he's got a messed up view of Canada because he's from the worst province that when they wanted to separate, most of Canada was like, perfect. We'll give you the fucking boats. Jump on and get the fuck out of here. We'll take you there at gunpoint. No problem. But they wanted to keep the land. So then we were like, well, why don't we say Natives American Canadians against Quebecers, winner take all. And then you guys, when the natives, you just go and fucking scalp all them fucking cocksuckers and take over all the buildings and all the infrastructure and everything you want, rip it all down and make it back into the wilderness and live the way you used to. The province is yours. Whatever. Do a little bit of both. You guys do it up. Show us how it's fucking done. Win it back, first up, the same way you lost it. You lost it through war. Win it back through war, and then show us how it's done. That was kind of the consensus of Canadians during that whole separation thing. But instead, our fucking politicians gave them special rights so that they wouldn't separate, and at the same time gave natives special rights and shit too. So made the rest of Canada hate them even more. Not the natives, but the Quebecers. They're rude and disgusting. The natives are brainwashed and held down purposefully. Excuse me. They're scared of those natives, for sure. So I'd love to see them tweak it up and do Quebec upright. Bring back the wildlife and all that kind of stuff, that and the wisdom and the medicine people and all that stuff that they used to do, and intermingle it with today's society and have, the best of both worlds kind of thing. Because they do have quite a bit of both sides, like there's hard-working, dedicated fucking natives that just smart and business oriented and all that kind of shit, and then there's laid back, fucking fun, good to smoke weed with, natives that have all kinds of knowledge and can hunt and fish and fucking, they'll pick a plant and heal your wound and fucking pick another one and feed you and pick another one and fucking cure disease and just all this knowledge, right? Wisdom we used to have as well, but it was destroyed. But they have a weakness for booze, and they'd have to just admit that and get the fuck away from it altogether. It's in the Bible that you guys will have a weakness for booze. They 2 of the 10 tribes made their sin alcohol. Judah, the lion, yeah. He was drunk and slept with his son-in-law's daughter, his niece. I don't remember who it was, whatever. But he was married and she was betrothed, and anyway, so that was a whole thing. And I can't remember his name. The oldest, who should have had the blessing, ended up he got all drunk and raped one of his stepmoms.